Yay. We're trying this. Yay.
Okay.
Um, cool. Okay, yeah, get the gum. You gotta have a fresh breath for the fresh channel.
Don't question mental state. It's already.
I'm that we're literally only here to question our mental states. That's like what this whole
That's the point.
project is
Yes,
about. Yeah, that's
I
the
love
point.
it.
But so, okay, so the idea is to maybe make like for the Guardians of the Light YouTube channel and potential
Yeah,
podcast, like I think it could be us in conversation, like comadres, and
like we do.
then I can like yeah like we do, and then I'll touch base with the guides with the guardians, and
Okay.
then we can like then you can chat with them, you know, through me, and then also if we like this idea we could invite like friends on and have like a
Yes.
third
Yes. Yes.
voice,
Yes.
and you know what I mean,
Yes.
just
Yes.
like really see,
Mhm.
you know, whatever.
All
But
right. Who's up for today?
well okay, should I just like tune in and see what the vibe
Let's
what's
go.
coming through?
Let's
Okay,
go.
all right. I'm already in dialogue, and what I hear immediately is, you know, we are the guardians of the light, and we are always here with you. What do you wish to discuss? So they're sort of asking in for to start with some kind of prompt or something, and then I think I can let them speak freely. But and they want to know, like, let's give them a topic. You know, is there something on your heart today, comadre, that you want
Well,
to
I
hear from
already
the
went
guardians
this
on?
morning to my altar and called all the team, all the ancestors, because Elia needs support in this final stretch of her high school career with her finals. And I mean, it's an up and down time for her right now, a lot, but there's a lot academically at stake right now. She like really has to pass these tests. She's missed too much school, and she's like all of a sudden like getting pulled back into her vortex of completion, very stressed out. That's the most thing that I was calling, is like make her feel surrounded, make her feel loved, make her journey light, keep her feeling strong, because I know everything's going to work out great.
Cool.
Just yeah, we got to get our girl feeling supported and
Yeah,
connected.
senioritis
Yes,
and how to
yes.
deal with that as a parent and as a kid. I mean, the first thing I
Which do you,
heard, oh yeah, go,
no, the first thing you heard, what? Go, because
was
that's.
it's just literally over here was like honoring your commitments. What does it
Hmm.
mean to honor your commitments and to see something through to completion?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
let's
Yep.
see what the message is around that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So this is a really good question, and it's such a human experience to set oneself forward on a task and then to arrive to a place where that task feels insurmountable and to look for an escape route. What we wish to communicate to you today is that setting oneself in front of a task is a symbolic act, and it's representative of your larger soul's journey of learning and recuperating information that you already know. So when you place yourself before a feat that seems insurmountable, what you're really asking yourself to do is to remember who you are.
Love.
So let me go a
Really
little
good.
deeper with that. Yeah. Because I'm like, okay, well, that's great, but how do you tell that to a teenager? You know?
Right.
So even in our earliest stages of life, we understand this cycle of wanting to do something and wanting to abandon it before it's done. This is emblematic of the human experience, and it can come from many different directions, whether something is intimidating or exhausting or simply loses interest or the person loses interest in the task. The challenge is to remind oneself why you have set out on the journey to begin with. And we're not speaking of the journey of high school and finishing senior year. We are speaking of why your soul came here to complete a task that it had set itself out with before this present incarnation. Because every time you choose to apply yourself to something and see it through to completion, you are strengthening the muscle of your soul's overarching goal. And these little wins stack up to give you a deeper encouragement for your greater life purpose. They also lead you to understanding more about your greatest life purpose because each of these resistances or resentments or desire to abandon or change course show you a little bit about what your soul is reckoning with in that moment. The obstacle in front of you, whether it becomes frustration or laziness or anger or fear or resentment, will always point to an aspect of your character that you are here to refine. And when you understand that what you're doing is refining character, you can approach the task with a larger consciousness about who you are becoming in the completion of the task.
Yes, received. Because these are chapters we're knocking out to move along through the journey. She didn't sign up for high school. I don't think I don't think like anybody like that's their sole purpose to go to high school. But what she has received from the experience is exactly that type of self-confidence, knowing she can move through things, she can complete things, she can meet the task at hand. And so these are skill builders to do the big work and the big task.
Yeah, adolescence is a period of rapid downloads, and there's not always time to process the information that's being downloaded. You are simply being asked to accumulate and upgrade, and that's why we have the rest of our life to make sense of the things that we learn and experience in our adolescence. However, when you're in the midst of it and you are being asked to remember your convictions and call upon your soul's purpose, but your physical being is wash with hormones and desires and energies and all of these other things in flux, it's challenging for the adolescent mind and body to accommodate the big picture of the soul's quest. And so, in these instances, we might suggest meditating on the reasons why it feels good to finish and letting that
Mm.
become an affirmation, because even at a very young age, human beings understand the satisfaction of completion and the feelings that come with doing a job well done. And whether that's through, positive reinforcements from educators or parents, or just simply the joy of finishing something that you experience when you are making an art project or running a race or playing a game, you can tap into the memory, the understanding of that good feeling, and you can invoke or apply that to the task at hand that might not necessarily feel as rewarding or feel as fun. But when you can remember in your energy, in your being, what it feels like to enjoy finishing something, you can give your body the encouragement to get on board with your soul.
Well, yes, that is a secondary challenge that she's dealing with right now, which is the joy of finishing, the joy of completion is not a clear note that she hears or feels or is resonating with, because it's stacked on top of the grief of saying goodbye to the life that she's known up to this point. So she's been very clear about all these feelings that she thought were going to be so joyful about school finishing feel like cognitive dissonance, because at the same time she's feeling that, she's also saying goodbye to her childhood, her living with her mom, her, all the familiarities, all the this part. And so I feel like one of the problems, and maybe cognitive dissonance is just another word for existing in multiple timelines at the same time, and having a hard time reconciling them in sync. But yeah, she's partially put her consciousness in the future, and that has one set of feelings, and a lot of the celebration that comes with the joy of finishing has been overshadowed by the conflict that is all the other emotions that come with an ending.
Yeah, you're speaking of grief and how to hold
Yes,
grief alongside,
she's grieving.
yeah, the process of completion, which necessitates grief because there's an ending.
Yes,
And
yes.
so an enlightened soul might be able to sit with that duality in its complexity and hold both the grief and the joy. When we're asking a younger person, even if they are quite evolved, to do that, it can just present a greater challenge because the
Hmm.
vessel is simply younger and with more fire. So I'm asking, uh, what is the message here for the young people in our lives who are wrestling with this grief of change and this excitement for the new and the paralyzation, for lack of a better word, that comes from not being able to finish what you started. And the guides are telling me even the youngest among you can hold multiple truths at the same time. So perhaps it's a matter of distinguishing amidst that complexity what is being felt where. And I'm being shown the energetic body and the chakral alignment and the sort of the suggestion being illustrated to me in this moment is that if Elia can sit for a moment to reflect on where this grief is being felt in her physical body and where this excitement is being felt in her physical body and where this paralysis or fatigue is being felt in her physical body, she might be able to understand that they are coming from different places and related to different aspects of her being and her experience.
Yeah.
So it becomes easier to address everything on the table when you can see the different dishes laid out versus just feeling like you're kind of a mess of emotions and energy.
Yeah. Being with her and talking through these things, immediately the answers that pop are the heart is the grief, sacral is the excitement, and the mind is the exhaustion. That's where her, like, the brain wants to shut off. There's a visceral, sensual excitement about the future and about becoming an independent woman. And then there's just this long-standing nostalgia that this girl was born with. She was nostalgic for yesterday, like on day two. And I noticed an increased nostalgia in her generation. I had no sentimentality about finishing and leaving, and
Same.
but we were happy to leave what was in our rear view. When you've been loved well, when you've been supported, the joy of leaving isn't quite as visceral, for sure.
Yeah.
And when
Given,
there's so much change in the world, they have nostalgia for when they were safe, for when things were easy. Things stopped being easy for this generation in 2019, and it has not let up. So yeah, they're nostalgic for simpler
yeah,
times.
this kind of reharmonization can't just be done cerebrally. It has to be worked through somatically. It is a matter of the body reorganizing
Yeah.
itself, and the it's it's funny because I'm listening to you and I'm also like hearing what's going on and from my guides, and I smiled because they suggested karaoke. They were like, she needs to sing with her friends, you know,
Lovely.
because
She asked
singing,
me to dance in the kitchen. She said, "I want to dance in the kitchen with you."
yeah, these are the things, and it's so great that she has that impulse and knows it because it's the singing and the dancing that will allow those separate elements that are happening between the sacral, the heart, and the third eye to reconfigure and rebalance. And this time is sort of beautifully messy in the emotional realm. There will be elation and there will be tears and there will be exhaustion. And she's, a very in tune creature. I think most teenagers are going through this without the ability to know how to like check in with their sacral chakra, for example. But but I think awareness aside, that charged confusion is a really essential component of her soul's evolution, of every young soul's evolution in this period of adolescence. And it is the particle accelerator that then sets the soul on a trajectory for the rest of this particular incarnation. So being able to see the micro within the macro and understand that this particular moment, and I'm saying this with a sense of we're talking about Ilya, but we're really talking about like every teenager going through senioritis right now, especially with the confounding and infuriating outside world encroaching upon that experience that should be a beautiful meditation on change and the loss of innocence. For every teenager and every parent showing up to this challenge, the guardians are saying move the energy and move with the energy to allow the body to make more space for the emotions to be felt, because the confusion is what creates the heaviness. And when those energetic centers can organically communicate with one another through things like song and dance and sport, there is a kind of internal rebalancing that happens that doesn't require cognitive awareness. And oh, cognitive dissonance is not a factor. And the moving of the body and the moving of emotion through the body using creative means generates more energy. Even if you dance till you're exhausted or you sing till your voice is sore, you are still actually regenerating. And that is the battery charge that
Hmm.
the soul needs to make it through this portal moment.
Yeah. Yeah, she said, she specifically said to that point that swim season ended at the worst possible time. She's like, it just ended right when all those practices felt like, oh, I'm tired now in a good way, and I'm exhausted in the best way, and really focus her mind. Uh, so she knows that, she feels that, she misses
And maybe swim practice ended at the exact perfect time. So she has this margin to learn how to fuel up on her own, because when she gets
that.
to college, it's going to be on her to create the discipline and structure.
Right.
And
Hmm.
we don't often think of
And to hear
things
the
like,
call of it.
yeah, and dancing in the kitchen and singing karaoke with friends, one might not consider that part of a healthy, disciplined structure. But what I'm hearing is like you need to learn how to make and claim that space on your own. And
Yeah.
so the swim season ending was literally opened up a portal in time for her to now figure out how to do it for herself, because she's going to
Hmm.
need that in the next step.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, that seems interesting and useful for people, maybe.
It certainly is. I would, if we were going to continue it more, there's also the layer of the parent is drawn to so lovingly hold space for this, they're also grieving and crumbling. So it's like, yes, everything's gonna be fine.
Well, that is again the singing and dancing of it all,
Yes,
to
yes,
because to dance
of
in the
course.
kitchen or sing karaoke together and cry over the nostalgic tunes
Yeah,
and laugh at how you're crying, because
yeah,
that is the nervous system just adapting, to the process of time
yeah,
unfolding.
yeah.
And
What does Dolly say? Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion.
yeah, exactly. And I think, I mean, that is again, it's a this that doesn't end with high school. This is a parenting process that you're going to have to see yourself through at every great transition in her life, because it's also a great transition in yours.
Of course, yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think my favorite takeaway from there was that's the whole point of this transition is she's gonna have to learn how to respond to that call to clear that energy, to move that energy, to meet those needs internally.
Yeah, there's going to come a time when she's away from home and away from her friends and away from her coach, where she's going to face the same ambiguity around finishing something she started,
Yeah,
and those same feelings of anticipation for the future and sadness about the past. And she can remember, wow, those that last month of senior year, this is what
yeah,
I had to conjure to get through it, and so I know how to.
yeah. Yeah, big, this is slightly different, but a big topic that I keep reiterating with her is about moving forward, how she's going to have to be so fluent and aware and have identified and be familiar with what her wounds are, what her patterns are, and how she's seeking to either satisfy, distract, or heal them. And how, I mean, when we're talking about it, we use like her friends as an example, we use her as an example, my past as an example. And I'm just trying to really hammer home that, like, no matter how big the impulse is to heal it externally first, to like create your environment in a way that either accommodates the wound or feels like it's creating a completion event for a loop, that's never going to be the way it heals, that it has to be internal and it has to be healed from within, and then that will create the external that you're looking for. Because her friend is like going through this thing, I'm like, do you see how she's like trying to shape her environment to accommodate that wound and to make it feel better? And do you see how like doomed it is? It's so doomed. It's so doomed. And she's like, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, I mean, you're not gonna heal everything in one go, but at least know, like, I'm doing that thing for my thing, because the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I heard was just the guides want to commend you for bringing up your child in the way. Capital T,
Hey,
capital W, and that's not easy. And it's such a miracle that she has the capacity to have these conversations already at this age. But before we wrap it up, because I think there is a little more juice in the lemon for you about the
mhm.
thing that you just shared from the parenting perspective. So they want to, you know, I'll speak just from them. Like we commend you for your efforts and your clarity with which you speak to your children and the ways that you are endeavoring to shield them from the hardship that you endured in your discovery process. And we wish to remind you that in some ways that is a fool's errand because there will always be wounding in the discovery process. However, you are equipping them with language and perspective and points of view that will aid them in their own process of investigating and what is the word, is re-articulating. And that might be the overarching message that you want to deliver to them through this question of seeking external versus internal modalities of healing a wound rather than uh, bringing them up in the way of identifying with wounding, to bring them up in the way of identifying with wholeness. And if the conversation always begins and ends with wholeness, if the reflection, the self reflection that you are teaching and training them toward always begins and ends with wholeness, then the experience and expression of that healing will intrinsically come from within.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll
They
carry
were
that for
reading you,
sure.
mama. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love beginning and ending with wholeness. That's so beautiful.
Cool.
And I know the fool's errand part too. That of course I was telling Annie, I go, if you don't have any wounds, you'll have a wound about not having wounds. Like you'll be like, why am I the only one with no like the wounds have to be there. That's the point, they have
Yeah.
to come.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
actually, I think my Substack last week was on, or no, this week was on brotherhood. And well, now I can't recall. Recently on my Substack, the message that I shared was about the folly of parenting, and
yeah.
that there's this sort of like the actual endeavor is to fuck up. Like it's not to do it perfectly. The
Yeah.
you know the endeavor is to do your best, to create the circumstances for their ideal learning and yours. But this
Mm-hmm.
this idea that, which is so, I mean, I don't have kids, but I can imagine, you want to protect them from all harm all the time, and you simply cannot, and so the
Yeah,
question is like, how do you equip them to, continue moving forward with healthy tools and ways of feeling and thinking and believing in themselves to manage that when it happens. You are like, I mean, you and Ilya are so, you know, I think light years ahead of where a lot of parents wish they could be with their teenage kids. But at the same time, I think the reason for that is that you've simply always called your children forth to their highest potential and spoken to them from that place of truth. And the message that I'm receiving is that has been a great underestimation for the capacity of young people to carry this level of consciousness. And
I believe that's true too.
most of them are doing it already, maybe without the language or the tools, but the intuitive connectivity is there. And when we empower young people to trust their intuition and to understand the way that their body is communicating with them through their intuition vis-a-vis these different energetic centers and sources of feeling, we give them the tools to do this kind of work on their own.
Yeah, I agree with all of that so profoundly.
Well, this was exciting. I mean, I'm not, certainly not an authority on parenting by any means, but I felt that what was coming through was truthful and useful, I hope.
Yeah, yes. It's not really, I don't think throughout the podcast, whatever the topic is, I don't think we're ever coming at it as the authority in that particular thing. You're channeling to offer helpful, guidance. And the thing about like you don't have to be a parent, you've been a child. So like
Mm.
you've participated in the parenting process.
That part is true.
We all know what it feels like from one side or the other. So for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, and then do you think that should we get Elia's like consent before posting this? Should we let her listen to this? I feel like we're talking about her the whole time. She should probably approve it if
Sure,
it's going to go on my
probably.
YouTube
Yeah.
channel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I and
Yeah.
that's great.
But I
But
think
yeah, I hope so.
yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like this is sort of the form that I was thinking, you know,
Yeah.
that we could just vibe. Um and because
I love
I watch other channelers do this, and I always enjoy it. And so maybe people will enjoy watching and hearing this.
I can't see why not.
Yeah.
This is like my
Let
favorite
us
thing.
know in the
So
comments. Yeah, I don't know. Like and
and not
subscribe, share with a
not
friend,
to
hit that notification bell.
yeah.
Amazing. Well, comadre, thanks for pulling over and just
Yeah.
giving this a shot. I love
I
channeling
feel
sisterhood.
like I feel like the big win was running the test and seeing and I loved it and it was fun and I'm happy that it's starting to materialize.
Yeah, same.
Instead of just, oh, we should. This
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. No, it feels like
the
this is
part of it.
not that hard and could be cool.
Hmm.
And I definitely on my end, I can feel when the voices of the guardians are present with me versus when it's just like me talking from my
Yeah.
present, ego mind. I
And
don't
do
know.
they seem happy to have this opportunity to like be heard more?
They are always ready and willing to show up, and they've been aware of my calling and my pulling toward sharing because I don't have like it's like, yeah, I don't have
Like a
a
platform we're trying to build.
well, it's not just the platform. It's like I want to say like when I go to like a Broadway show and I see people on stage, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. I can't wait to do that again. I love that. And when
Yeah.
I watch other channelers, I'm like, oh, I'm really grateful to be watching this and I need this right now. I don't think
Hmm.
like, oh, I want to do
Yeah.
that.
I want to.
But then it's like, well, why does this keep coming up for me? Why does why does the impulse to share this keep coming up? And I think it's because that's like what the my soul
Yeah.
has signed up for and agreed to. So it feels more
Yeah.
like that kind of a situation. And it's just like I hope that having this outlet let's get some take some of the pressure off. And that's why I've been doing the Substack and like why I started the YouTube channel because I'm just like, when will this leave me alone? And it
Yeah, yeah,
doesn't.
yeah,
So I'm just trying to, and I just want it to be fun and easy. I'm not trying to get all complicated.
yeah.
So, if this is fun and easy and it gives us an excuse to hang out, then it can serve all the needs,
Win,
I
win,
hope.
win. Yeah,
Yeah, win, win, win.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay. Well, I love
Okay.
you.
I
More
love you.
soon.
I'm off to do my pickups, my Uber pickups for my kids.
Oh, yay. A mom's work never done. Okay.
I know.
Well,
I
okay.
love
More
you.
soon. I'll talk to you tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Bye.